Welcome to XYPN Radio, where your host Alan Moore brings you into a community of fee-only financial planners who want to profitably and successfully serve Gen X and Gen Y clients. If you're ready to get the knowledge you need from leaders in your field, learn from forward-thinking advisors, and take action on your own goals, XYPN Radio is the show for you. Here's your host.
Hello and welcome to this episode of XYPN Radio. I'm your host, Alan Moore, and today we are celebrating our 200th episode of XYPN Radio. It is just so hard to even believe that we have been airing this for almost 4 years now. Our first episode went live on August 18th, 2015. And of course, episode 1 was with none other than Michael Kitsis, my business partner. But since then, we have sat down with hundreds of different financial advisors to learn their stories, hear about their successes and their failures, their journeys into financial planning, what they hope to do for their business, to show you what entrepreneurship can really be, both the fun and exciting part, but also the hard part, the roller coaster, the emotional side of what it is to really run a business. And I hope that we've been able to share this wide range of stories so that you get a real perspective of what it means to own your own financial planning firm and be able to do the great work that our advisors are out there doing. Everyone's story is unique, but the one constant in every episode is the final question of, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? It always cracks me up because the people who listen to this show the most often are often the least prepared to answer that question, which is awesome because, so many times the answer is unscripted and really just off the cuff and makes people think about what is it that they wish they had known. And the advice that has been shared over the 200 episodes of XYPN Radio is just worth its weight in gold. And we just felt like it was so valuable that this episode is going to be dedicated to that advice and to go back and revisit the nearly 200 pieces of advice that our guests on this show have shared. So we've basically gone through and taken the advice from all the different advisors who have been on and jam-packed it into this single episode. So sit back, relax, and take a walk down memory lane with us. And thank you to all of our dedicated listeners, both old and new. And of course, thank you to everyone who has taken the time and been willing to come on the show and share your story of entrepreneurship and starting a business and, getting into financial planning and all the different things that we've covered. Ultimately, XYPN Radio and really XY Planning Network wouldn't be what it is today without all of you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If you could go back and give your younger self that one thing that you know now that you wish you knew then, what one piece of advice do you wish you could go back and give yourself?
I think still over the years in the class sense, I've been too slow to hire out more staff and support for myself. And when I've occasionally had people that weren't the best fit, I've been too slow to fire them and move on. And that's probably been my biggest blocking point. You can only do so much yourself before you need a team, you need support, you need good people around you. And I'm certainly as guilty as anyone of having been very slow to learn and internalize that lesson of not just the value of having good people around you, but truly like the value of getting good people around you. And if you have people that aren't good people around you, you need to let them go and cut them loose and move on as quickly as possible. I guess that would probably be the advice I'd give to myself looking back is just recognize how much value there is in having good people that work with you. You can do so much more as a team and a group than you can solo, even as awesome as technology and the rest lets you be in today's world.
Lean into fear. And let me just explain it real quickly. I wanted to say, don't be scared. That little kernel you feel, I think of it sometimes as like a little piece of sand in my shoe. That little in your soul or your spirit or your psyche, whatever you want to call it, saying you can do things differently. Like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to settle and you don't have to be reasonable and you don't have to, like, that little feeling you have that says, hey, no, I want to change the world in this little way. I want to make my small dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs used to say. Do it.
Just start. Because it's so scary to just start, but just start. Because I just think, man, if I would have started a few years before, think about how much farther I would have been, along now. And I think that to just really think about replacing fear with faith. that it's going to work out and that you're going to figure it out. And there were so many things that I didn't know. And if you would have told me, oh, you're going to have to deal with all of these other crazy things, who knows if I would have done it. And so I think the most important thing is just getting started, and you'll figure it out along the way.
The one thing that has shown me how extremely valuable is having that defined, unique process, and how you do what you do. Before that, I was just another advisor doing financial planning. Not another advisor, but didn't have that clearly defined process to walk people through. And ever since I created that has been a game changer for us, because not only do you have the process, but in that process, each step along that process, you can now start delegating tasks to your team members to do what they need to do. And it removes me having to, if somebody gets an inquiry to me, I'd always email them and kind of go back and forth with it. Now it's not me, it's my office manager. She's the one that has the direct, point of contact and schedules that free chat. And then I have my advisor go and do the work. And so that's probably one thing, is what is it that you do that makes you different? Whether it's a niche or it's just your process, how do you do it? And clearly articulate exactly what you do and how you do it.
Be comfortable being uncomfortable, because along this path, I was uncomfortable a lot. And I always thought that, well, I'm feeling this way, so I must not be doing something right. And there really is no right answer when it comes to creating this life that I love and developing a business that is profitable and effective in what the service it delivers. So I think it's just kind of take one step at a time and be comfortable being uncomfortable. You'll see it will develop. Something will develop. Whether it's the initial vision that you had or it's something completely new, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be able to choose how things go along the way.
Probably one of the biggest things that I've had to work through is this being comfortable with being successful. And that's really just sort of my own background. I came from a hardworking family, and my family did a lot of good things, but sort of the blue collar mentality of you just need to earn enough to support yourself, and I've been successful beyond that, and sometimes that's been a little uncomfortable for me. And so as a business owner, you have to get over that and think, if you want to grow a business, you got to be comfortable setting big goals and reaching that.
Just how far you can go in your life and your profession, your professional career, just with some hard work and some initiative. I'm just a regular guy from Texas and went to a decent school and have a decent education. I'm nothing special, but just putting your head down and saying yes when people ask you to do things, whether it's in professional associations or, local, regional organizations that you're a part of, just how many doors that opens for you and the career trajectory that I'm on. I never would have thought that I would have been here, in my mid-30s. And I look back and I think it's awesome. It's been a great ride.
I wish I had known that I would get to where I am today. I wish I would have known that you will be able to follow your dreams. You will be able to pursue your passion. You're not on the wrong path. And that was one of the things that kind of started, while I was on it, I wish just going through all of these changes, I just can't remember getting turned off, but it was what I knew. And I had majored so specifically that I felt almost stuck so many times. I wish I could tell myself, I wish I would have known, actually, you will own your own firm. You will help the people that you want to help. That would have been probably such a stress reliever to me. And just it would have alleviated so much questioning and concerns, just knowing it'll happen. Just be patient and you will figure out a way.
This isn't about you. It's not about your business. It's not about what you want to do or what you want to get out of it. Those things are all secondary to, it's about your clients. It's about your potential customers, and everything you do needs to be in service of them. And that is how you gain trust. That's how you grow a practice. That's how you get people to care about what you're doing and want to hear more from you. I actually we talked about Fizzle a lot, and I was listening to the Fizzle show the other day, and one of the guys, Chase Reeves, was saying whenever he's struggling with creating something, he just reminds himself to make a gift.
just make someone a gift and put it out in the world. And I think that's great advice. And I think the more that you can do that, the more you can make it about them, the more successful you're going to be.
I would definitely just tell my younger version, stop worrying so much. You're going to get there, wherever there is, and take off those black suits.
Honestly, I kind of think that even though I really was struggling through a lot of these different career paths, I feel like a lot of them brought a lot of value for what I eventually wanted to do. So I know I hear a lot of times people that want to get into this industry, or maybe even people that are already in this industry, wanting to quit. Like they don't want to be in the industry anymore because they're like, this is not what I wanted to be doing anymore. And so I would say I was really close. I was very, very close to just being like, I'm just not a fit for this industry. I mean, I would say I probably would have tried to figure out a little bit earlier if there was a way to get into financial planning without having to go knock on random people's doors in random neighborhoods. But at the same time, like that forced me to be really, really uncomfortable. And that makes me a lot better probably now at being like, I don't have control over what people do or say or how they act. Like I can only control my action.
Be patient because through time, things will work themselves out. I like the way you put it earlier, just not young and dumb, but overly ambitious. And that's not a negative, but certainly sometimes you need to just kind of gain control of that and keep it in the proper context. And I think patience is key as you're developing in any profession, but especially this one. So as I reflect back to 2009, I was probably a little bit overly ambitious, but I think things have worked themselves out for a reason, and I don't regret any of those decisions. But just be patient and stick with it, and over the course of time, things will go according to plan.
You're worth it. I did/do struggle tremendously with, kind of self-esteem and feeling like, you're not worth it. And that stems from a lot of things in my past and, all the way back to childhood. Invest in yourself and do your work and go through those difficult things because, getting a counselor, somebody who is impartial from your life, who can take an objective view and talk to you about things that are going on, has made such a tremendous difference in my life and my ability to be present with my kids and my wife and to think about what I could have lost if I hadn't done that is one of the scariest things that I know. And so, be aware of what are your demons, right? What are the shadows, if you will, if you're going to go Jungian, or your dragons. What are the things that are lurking there that you always feel are chasing you? And you need to, I don't think slay your dragons, but I do think you need to make peace with some of the difficult things in your heart if you're going to become a more integrated person. And I can tell you from having seen clients, I've seen clients who are fabulously financially successful, whose shadows follow them around everywhere that they go, and they're not very happy people, and they lead very challenging lives. And I have clients who maybe haven't had the most luck financially and have had other things, but they figured out a way to be an integrated person, and you can see their happiness when they walk around, and you can see the way they smile or talk to their kids. So be very careful along the way to not lose the things that you're working for. I think it's Emerson, so often people achieve success when the reason they sought it has long passed. Be aware of chasing the money and losing the family or the kids along the way. I'm very lucky that I didn't. So you're worth it.
Be okay with not having to do everything. Like realize the importance of having a team and people around you to support you, because that's critical. If I went back to even earlier, it would be not to be intimidated, because you have struggles throughout your entire working career. And early on, for me, it was about intimidation. I was intimidated to sit in front of these really smart people. We were in a city where we actually work with a lot of rocket scientists. And so these are smart people. And I was really intimidated to get in front of them. And it held me back early on. And so that's one piece. And then the other piece is, just get to the point where you understand when people can do it better than you.
There will be times when it really seems like the walls are closing in and you feel trapped and you're like in a horrible spot. And you end up somehow moving forward. And then as you get past it, you're able to look back and I remember the day that I got fired from this particular firm that sort of blew up because of the partnership issue. And I'm driving home and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, this is just the worst. That, this is a horrible feeling. I'm so, upset about being in this particular position. And now I look back on it and I'm like, thank goodness I'm not working there, because I'm able to see how dangerous it could have been to get into that position, as opposed to sort of where I am now, where I feel like I have more control and I'm doing more of what I actually want to be doing. And I'm not giving away as much of a giant chunk of my revenue. And it's one of those things where, like, as you're transitioning through a lot of these processes, it feels like it is just, wow, I've really messed something up, or, this is the wrong path. I don't know how I ended up here. And it's really hard to evaluate that when you're in the middle of it. I think once you get past it, you can look back and maybe be a little bit more objective and realize, like, boy, I could have ended up there and I'm so lucky I didn't. And that's now how I look back on it. Whereas at the time, it was just exactly the opposite. You never really know what the next opportunity is going to bring. And that has been presented to me sort of continuously throughout my career, of feeling like, I cannot believe I got myself into this mess, only to realize it was kind of like, actually, you just kind of dodged a bullet there, but you didn't realize it at the time.
I learned how to get over myself. And I learned that it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm such a perfectionist in so many ways. And to have to just produce something on a regular basis has been so good for me personally, to just remind myself, like, hey, you do have something to say. Hey, like, this is a thing that's really important to you. And I always remember the story. I don't know if you know the story, Alan, about the 1,000 pots. There was this pottery teacher who divided her students into two groups. In one group, she said, Group A, you just have to make the best pot that you can possibly make and produce that by the end of the semester, and you pass. And for Group B, she said, Group B, you just have to create as many pots as you possibly can by the end of the semester, and you pass. And so at the end of the semester, she had everyone bring all of their pots, and she looked at Group A and she looked at Group B, and Group B not only had the most pots, but they had the best pots. Because it's not about making the perfect pot. It's about doing it over and over and practicing your skill and honing your skill and learning from that really makes you a master at what you're doing.
Be a sponge. Soak up, all the information and all the classes and all the content that you can, because all of that will come back to help you in some way, shape, or form. I think that would be one piece of advice, would be to know more, learn more, do more in that sense.
It really comes down to focus on that niche. If I could have changed things, I would have started doing that from the very get-go and focused solely on that market. And maybe I could have been, a year further down the line that I am now.
To be a little bit more patient, I guess patient in the transition, and maybe not to have gotten so frustrated with knocking my head against the wall in business models that didn't work. I think for individuals who are looking to make this transition, I would just encourage them to go out there and interview planners, find out what their business model is, what their values are, who their real target client is, and what the structure is within the firm. I think I probably would have asked a few more questions than I did at the onset had I known which questions to ask.
Everything happens for a reason. So I never really feel like if I had known this, I would have changed certain things, because there's a reason why you didn't know this. But I do feel like I would tell myself more maybe before I even find out about financial planning, like my 10 years of wondering what's my calling, just, be patient and you will find it. And maybe you need that 10 years to really accumulate the experience where you'll appreciate what your real calling is.
Just relax. It's okay not to have a 4.0 GPA. It's okay not to have 7 jobs and accomplish a lot. So I would just say relax and don't worry. It's going to be fine. Life will work out.
I would say to everybody who's either starting a business in this field or is, going through the initial throes of it, never compare yourself to somebody else. That got me in so much trouble emotionally doing that. And even seeing the whole, 1 to 2 clients a month metric, that I want to smack a wall at that point. I'm like, what am I doing that I don't have that? And what am I doing wrong? Nothing. You're a completely different person than that person who got that. You're running a different business in a different part of the country. You've had completely different life experiences. You cannot compare yourself to another advisor in your same situation. You just cannot. This whole entrepreneurial thing is a journey. There is no end point. So you have to love the journey because you're never ending at a destination. And if you can't love the journey, then you have to go get a job and get off the train.
Save more money and don't worry about the money, because I believe that you have to follow your thing. I'm married and my wife is fully supportive, and my wife has a great job, and so that helps. So you either need to have money saved, good amount of money, or you need to have a supportive wife or significant other, and you need those things to really be successful, I believe. You just can't, you're not selling products. Okay. You're not getting $10,000 bonuses. This is work hard, takes a while, but you'll get there if you keep doing what you're doing.
Just to ask more questions, listen more, just be more aware of what you're getting yourself into.
Patience and respect to the timing of others. Patience as an advice to yourself. Good things takes time to be built. You can build a company, a practice on a flash. But I really believe that huge, big, sustainable things are built on fire. And that takes time. And respect to the timing of others, because when you are an entrepreneur, it's not about you only. It's also about the people who will be connected to your vision. You will go way farther if you respect the timing of others.
You know more than you think you do, and you are providing a great service. And like when people, just that like belief in self and that understanding that like you do have the ability to do this job. And I think that is something that a lot of us doubt. And I know even those who have been in the industry and worked for other firms still have that piece. And the more I talk to people, the more I realize just how persistent that piece is for almost everyone I talk to who's an entrepreneur. And so just really, really understanding like, hey, like you have value to provide, and be confident in that value, and be confident in the fact that people are saying yes because they think you're providing value and they think that what you're doing is worth it. And I think that that's important to keep in mind, because it's really easy to doubt yourself, especially with as much time as a lot of us spend alone at the beginning. It's really easy to kind of doubt whether or not this was the right decision. But I think having confidence that you are doing a much better job than you are probably telling yourself that you're doing is important.
Understand your strengths and understand your weaknesses. And I think for me, I had a problem where I wanted to retain everything that was going on in my business, just from both a cost standpoint, and I just didn't want to lose control of that. And the moment I started thinking about it in terms of, okay, what am I really good at? And then all the things I'm not good at, how can I bring in experts in those areas to make my firm better? I made a decision. I made a significant investment in working through and creating a process of lead generation. It's working, and it's the best decision I've ever made. So think about, just self-awareness is so huge in this business, and understanding, are you highly technical? Are you a great marketer? Are you great with, client experience and delivering client experience and operations? And then fill in the gaps and only do what you're really good at. And it may take a little while because, to one, figure it out, but also get to a point where you have the money to outsource. Keep that in mind over time, and try to, in a cost-effective way, try to find things that you can be not doing, so you can do other things that have more impact to growing your business.
Something I wish I kind of embraced earlier when I was just starting out was the fact that the person becomes the professional, not the other way around. So really focus on yourself and like being true to you. And then a good professional is going to come out of that. Don't just focus on becoming a professional and then just say, okay, once I feel that feeling of success as a professional, then I'm going to spend time with my family. That's hogwash, in my opinion. So just focus that the person makes the professional, not the other way around.
Take care of yourself every day and just create a support network and structure in your life, both people and processes that are going to support you on a daily basis, because this is going to grind you into the earth otherwise.
Just do it. Just go out and do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? I had a plan. I knew I needed to learn my stuff, and I had a plan to get there, and I have executed on that in a little bit of a different way. I was afraid to pull the trigger. Treat yourself the way you'd want to treat a client of yours, right? Make sure the idea isn't blatantly stupid. Make sure there's a road to get there, and find a way to do it. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this has been easy, right? This is every bit as hard as every single person on this podcast has said it is. You need to be willing to work a second job and study all this stuff in your free time and nights and weekends and that stuff. But, if you have a plan in place and it's a good one, like go for it.
Learn how to sell better, because it's never really been something I've done well. I guess learn how to go out and find clients better. I'm an introvert, so that's really, really hard for me. I could have done better at the very beginning, and I would have told myself, Nanette, this is going to be hard for you to do because you are an introvert. I think that's what I would have told myself starting this out, that's going to be the challenge. It's not going to be the technical piece of anything. It's really going to be getting out there, putting yourself out there, introducing yourself. Hey, I do financial planning. This is how I help people. That's so hard for me to do. It still is.
I wish I wasn't so hesitant to charge more than what I did. I wasn't charging what I was worth. Let me just put it that way. And that's a bit of my vulnerability back then. And I still get a little bit of that now, hesitation. And my advice for anybody starting out too in the business is have a marketing plan, like an actual marketing plan. I didn't have a plan. I just said, okay, I'm going to contact this many number of people. and perhaps that was my marketing plan, but definitely have some sort of strategy and not just go out there and gung-ho it.
To not be so afraid of things. I mean, I've raised my prices quite a bit, and I should have done that a long time ago. So don't be afraid of the value that you bring, and don't be afraid to stand up for, what you know you are worth.
I think patience is my problem. I mean, everyone wants to have that $250,000 practice on day one, and it's going to take some time. And I probably made mistakes along the way because I've pushed it too hard and pushed in the wrong places, thinking that was the right place to be. But be patient in what you're doing. Be very thoughtful in how you're doing the things you're doing. And anything you think is a good idea, give it a week, maybe 2 weeks. Keep thinking about it before you move forward. I'm not saying you shouldn't take action on good ideas and good opportunities, but just really be thoughtful in how you're moving forward.
I should have taken sales jobs right out of college. And I had an opportunity, I had interviewed with Ameriprise, and I could have stayed at Smith Barney, right, and be more in the sales roles. But I kind of figured, I want to do financial planning and I don't want to be selling product. But later on, I realized that those skills, right, those sales skills, being more comfortable in front of people earlier, right, I think would have gotten me a lot more success faster. And I know that a lot of advisors struggle with that, right? Because at the end of the day, the hardest thing to sell is yourself. And so gaining that confidence right away. And so to overcome all of that, I have to do a lot of personal development and, read books, attend seminars. So it's never ending process, but I wish I had done that sooner. It gets you a lot faster in business, and particularly if you're a business owner, right? Financial planning or being a financial advisor is one side of the equation. But to be a business owner, and I believe that sales is like the lifeblood of the business. And if you're not good at that, maybe you can outsource and hire.
Biggest piece that I wish I would have known then would just be to not waste time. It's really easy to get comfortable kind of where you're at, even though you know that, you were destined for greater things. So, don't be afraid to take those risks. So don't waste time if you're, not happy where you're at. And then also kind of on that don't waste time theme is, let's say you did start your own firm and you're sitting at your office or at your house, reach out to people, be proactive. So we connected with a ton of attorneys, a ton of accountants, a ton of other financial planners. we wanted to just expand our network as big as possible. We wanted to get our name out there, our message out there, to as many people as would freaking listen to us. And then, they started to refer us some business. So we met with a few accountants, and they're now centers of influence for us. And they meet with people that were kind of our perfect client. And they would say, hey, you guys need to talk to Devin and Andrew. And the next thing we know, we have an email coming in saying, hey, my CPA recommended I talk to you. And from our experience, if someone's CPA is saying you need to talk to this financial planner, that person is always going to be taking that meeting with us. Whether or not they become a client, that's on us, but they are almost always going to take that meeting. So just getting out there and networking and not sitting around and not doing anything was an absolute game changer for us. So yeah, my biggest thing is just don't waste time. I feel like we did a good job, but I feel like there was still so much time that we wasted too.
I think probably number one is develop your own opinion, especially in a business like this, like when you first get into it, whether you were interested in it at college or you're like me and you kind of found it like after your first job. The first people you spend time with are going to mold your perception of an industry. They're going to mold your thoughts even on planning or the way that you view relationships with clients, whatever it is. And if something feels off to you in any single way, take the time to do some research and find an opposing view, because ultimately we got to where we are because something just didn't feel right. Like at the end of the day, something just didn't feel right, or we felt like there was a better opportunity. There was something different. And I'm so glad that we found XYPN. Like I know we're on your podcast, Alan. I'm not just trying to plug you here, even though you're an awesome guy. Finding values that align with where your values are at brings a lot of peace and clarity to everything. Like Andrew said, we were on pace to make, great money, and we were so excited to leave it behind because we felt like this was the right direction. And so maybe that's not I wish I'd have done a different thing, because I'm super glad that we had every experience we had on the way here. But ultimately, just because someone who's older than you or you perceive them to be wiser than you has told you something or given you advice on something, that doesn't need to be your opinion. So go out, find your own opinion, do some learning, and educate yourself to a point where you trust your own advice the same way you're going to trust someone else's.
Start this business sooner rather than later, like by 20 years or more. Yeah. If you have the desire to try this out, then don't think about whether it's the right time in the economy or if it's, the right time in, just in general. If you really have that desire, just go for your dream, jump in, get into this business. Maybe not start your own firm if you don't really know what you're doing yet, but at least get your feet wet and work with a financial planning firm and try it out and see if it's something that you like. And that's the one regret that I have, is that I didn't do this when I was 23 years old. But there's always a second chance.
I would tell myself to do it sooner. And I think that's something that a lot of business owners end up saying is, I wish I would have done it sooner. And like I mentioned, I learned a lot while I was at the previous firm, but I'm so much happier now on my own, and I'm enjoying my job even more, that I wish I just would have done it sooner. I mean, my family life didn't suffer during that time period. I wasn't depressed or unhappy, but I enjoy everything so much more. I have a lot of pride in what I'm doing and where I work, that it just makes you feel good about continuing to do it. So I would say do it sooner. If you're thinking about it, get everything lined up. It's always going to be a leap of faith. So what I told my wife when I wanted to do this originally was, it's going to be a leap of faith. But if I can do everything in my power to shorten that leap by taking good care of my clients and knowing that I have clients to follow me and projecting out what expenses would be and having money saved, that if I can shorten that leap, then my chance at making it to the other side successfully are going to go up. So I don't think you should just get fed up one day and go leave, but if you really, at the end of the day, know you want to be on your own, start figuring everything out so that when it's time to go, you're ready.
The question that I always ask first is, what is your why? Tell me your why. So defining your why is what I would say to them. Knowing why you're doing this, why you got into business to do this, who you like to work with, and why it's going to help you have a more fulfilling life.
It's just going to be a wild ride. And so to embrace it and not try to fight against the current, like celebrate the highs, feel and learn from the lows, and make sure that you're just aware of what's going on, because time has gone so fast. And, if you blink, you're going to miss it. And so I feel like being a part of this journey and actually embracing it and feeling like you're participating in this in your life and making sure that you're experiencing what it is to build a business and to experience this crazy, crazy ride is something that I wish I would have known before, that I sort of learned midway, and really appreciate that I have things to reflect back on. I journal a lot. So being able to reflect on where I was at a certain point and what I was thinking and how the emotions that I was going through at the time is sort of fun to reflect on. And I can see how far I've come and see where I still want to go.
It's okay that you feel like you're a bad employee and there are other options, not just feeling like a bad employee all the time.
Everything has to start with purpose. And I think for most of my 20s, I didn't realize that the why matters. The why is principle. And if you figure that out, everything will come into place. But if you kind of just, drift with the wind or let others dictate, your path, whether that's career or life or otherwise, you'll kind of wake up someday and say, it's funny that I ended up here because it lacked intention. So start with that purpose. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you're drawn to that, my goodness, go for it.
So much of my youth was spent trying to grow up. And I don't think millennials necessarily have this problem. But it was, get married, get a job, get a house, have kids, and realizing that experience and, connections and relationships, that's going to be the thing that really carries you through with gratitude and opportunity. And so I think I would, tell people who are just starting off, whether it's they want to start their own firm or maybe join or just kind of explore around, is take that time to really have some experiences so you get that point of view and perspective before you start pushing for, all the trappings of life.
Be curious. I think, honestly, when I graduated high school, I thought I would be an auto mechanic. And here I am, and that was in the Midwest. Here I am 10 years later in California running a financial planning firm. Like, you never know where life is going to take you and where your passions are going to take you. But if you're always curious, you're going to find something that you're going to be happy with. Number two is find a community. That was one of the biggest changes that I had, was when I took the CFP or did the courses to get my CFP, meeting new people, being a part of FPA and NAPFA, joining XYPN. I found a lot of people that have similar vibes with me, and I'm so thankful for that. Always keep learning. I think getting your designations is a really important thing to do. I did that as quickly as I could. So right at the 3-year experience mark, I've had my CFP for the most part, and just ask questions. The more you learn, the more you'll realize you don't know, and you'll be humbled by that.
Some things I learned that really held me back over the years were, one is, and I alluded to it earlier, but it's believing in your capacity to figure things out. Not stopping yourself from going bigger or doing more because you're worried about, how am I going to handle all that? If I get too much business, I'm going to drop the ball. I'm going to mess it up. What if I start a podcast and after 10 episodes, I quit because I don't have time? Who cares? You'll figure it out, and just believing in your capacity to do that is huge.
Use the resources and experience of a group like, XYPN, for example, which is why I became a member, to get started more efficiently, to jumpstart. I wish I had done that with, 10 years ago, and I didn't, but here I am. And the second piece is, for me, I let my own money issues keep me from setting appropriate fees. And the groups that I've joined have really helped me get brave and set better fees. I think about the money that I let go down, and not down the drain, but I just needed to have gotten out from my own self and charge better.
You have to stay true to yourself. Seriously. I mean, you have to
if you want your business to be a certain way, you got to do it. Like, don't try to fit in someone else's box. Don't try to, do exactly what everyone else is doing, because that's what's working for them. Like, you have to do what works for you and what makes your heart feel good. And your vision of success can be completely different as someone else's. And you can be just brilliant at those things. You can shine and you can do so much better, and you can have the family. You can truly have what you want, but you have to stay true to yourself.
Number one, if this is something that you're dreaming about, have the confidence in yourself that you're going to make it happen. I know it's not an easy road whatsoever, but you have to keep that kind of long-term prize in mind. The other piece of advice I would say is, if you're I make it sound easy, like I've always made these decisions and I just go with them. But like, I had thought about starting my own firm early. Like, I had read some of the early stuff XY was putting out about Sophia Vera and all these other people. And I just sat on it for so long because I was so afraid of failing. And I think if you can just trust your gut, trust your instincts, you have the support you need, make it happen. Don't feel like you have to find the perfect time to do it.
Well, I really enjoyed the advice that I've heard from a lot of other advisors that they wish they'd started sooner. I think that's probably right. For me, I think my big takeaway is everybody says don't talk about politics, sex, or religion in business. I'd say go for it. That, you're going to find people who really trust you more and respect your work and who you connect with in a different way if they learn that politics and religion are important to you and you care about making the world better in a particular set of ways. And if they do too, you're going to have a connection that you couldn't achieve any other way. And that's meaningful and it's important. And some people are going to be turned off, and that's fine. But I think the more deeply and authentically an advisor can be themselves, if that stuff's important to them, that should be part of how they define their work.
It's okay if you don't want to be a financial planner. Like, there are so many other things that you can be around financial planning, whether it's like blogging about it or like creating a money class or something like that. Like, I think a lot of us are like, okay, if I want to be a financial planner and I can't find a firm that I want to work for, then I guess I got to start my own company and I have to do it that way. But I think that if I had told myself sooner that, like, hey, there are many ways to go about getting into the financial world. You don't have to make the jump immediately to financial advisor. Like, if I could have told myself that, I think I'd be in a better position, right? Because if I had started blogging to have a blog back when it was cool, hindsight 2020, then I'd have a whole readership where when I started becoming a financial advisor, I could have integrated that platform and had an easier, successful launch, right? Like, I think that being open to doing things around what you want to ultimately be able to do, even though we're just talking stepping stones, like, I think that's a really important thing.
I think the biggest challenge of the last 3 years, and then even extended into my career, is the fact that actually the last 3 years, because I have seen opportunity in ways I just have never seen it before in my lifetime, ever since I've joined the network and started my own RIA. It's just like, because there's a lot of flexibility when you own your own business. There's a lot of flexibility when you're in an RIA and not under a broker dealer environment. So how do I pursue that opportunity? And that opportunity has really paralyzed me at times, because it's like, oh, this one is so good, but what if something better comes along and I'm already, neck deep into this one? So basically, I wish that I would be more clear about saying, hey, it's not waiting for the next opportunity. You need to seize, kind of carpe diem. You need to seize the day, seize the opportunity. And yes, it may not be the perfect opportunity, but it's really good. And it's better what 99% of people in this world are getting or have an opportunity to pursue. So take that opportunity by the horns and then strategically plan around it. And that's where I've really gone off course, because I thought, oh, maybe another opportunity comes along too. I have never done really well with the strategic planning part and made those opportunities just come to life. So that's what I'd really like to be better at in the next part of my career, as well as telling young people and told plenty of prospective members and new members in the network. It's like, hey, plant your flag and own it and just go for it as far as strategically planning on how you make that happen, as opposed to wondering like, oh, maybe I do it this way or maybe I don't. It's like, plant your flag, go for it. It may fail, but at least you'll have learned something along the way.
I knew it would be tough, but I think we have had a lot more obstacles than I was ever counting on along the way. That honestly came from the personal side of life for us, stuff with our family members, moves, kids, things like that. And even pets, it's been a lot. And so I think I just would have told myself, my analytical self starting this had my spreadsheet of how everything's going to go. And it didn't, in a lot of ways it did, but in a lot of ways it really, really didn't. And so I think I would have just warned myself a little bit that it's going to go a little differently than A, B, C, D, E, and that's going to be okay, Dana. So that when it happened, I think it might not have jarred me quite so much.
Definitely set aside a little bit more money when you launch the business, because, collecting a paycheck will not be an immediate thing. And always really invest the time in the processes, even initially when you have like all of 3 clients and efficiency is not really important, because as you do grow and expand, those first 3 clients probably will still be with you if you're doing it right. And, changing the whole script on them and, in the 4th year, just because you've gotten a lot busier, isn't something that they'll probably be amenable to. So really from the get-go, figure out how you want to implement things, and then, really invest in making sure that you're being efficient, even when you have tons of extra time.
Number one piece of advice I would give myself is be more tactful. I think that I sort of went through a lot of my early career just feeling like I could get noticed because I was doing great things. And that's just not how the world works. Like, you need to learn how to interact with people, and you need to learn how to interact with people in a way that they want to be around you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that people didn't want to be around me back in the day, but I just feel like I could have been better about forming relationships with people. I could have been better about how I interacted in a work environment. I could have been better about being a little more humble and being a team player.
It just takes time and to give yourself space to make some mistakes and to try different things out. You don't have to have it all figured out on day one. So it's constantly evolving, and let it go that way. The other thing, and I can't stress this enough, is to really focus on 3 to 5 years. I think the biggest failure of any business, whether it's our business or a restaurant or retail, whatever it is that they don't give themselves enough runway before it's successful, not only professionally, but also in their personal life. And I've seen it over and over again. People can't afford to continue, to move forward because they didn't have enough savings just to live off of while they were launching.
The big thing that I've learned, especially in this last year, has been there are no guarantees in life. And if you want something, go for it. I try to work with not just the young people, with my clients. It's the same message. I want you to be in a place to take bold risks for things you really believe in. And yeah, it's going to be tough. And, you're going to need that intrinsic self-motivation to get you through the tough seasons. But man, if that's something you're really interested in doing, you got to go for it, because tomorrow's just not guaranteed.
I would say not to, kind of like you were talking about in the second year where you start worrying about things and you have voices in your head telling you you could go do something else or whatever. I would just say, kind of try to put that fear aside. And there's a healthy fear that really makes you focus on the business and do what you should be doing. But then there's just an unnecessary fear and worry that, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Just understand that it takes time, and not to let fear stop you from getting in the industry if it's something that you should be doing and you want to be doing. And then as you're going through getting it built, if you get those thoughts in your head, try to get them out of your head quickly, because you got stuff to do and you got a business to build. So don't let fear and worry stop you from doing what you need to do to make your business happen.
I think the most important thing that would have been helpful to hear for me at that stage would have been to relax and enjoy the ride and not put too much pressure on myself or compare myself to other people. Recognize that I need to travel my own journey and not somebody else's, and just never forget how cool it is that we get to do this job that we do and have such an impact on our clients' lives. Like, just step back and appreciate what is going well for a minute from time to time, and don't stress out too much, and don't expect things to happen overnight. Just keep on keeping on and enjoy the ride.
everything takes longer than you think it will, and patience in general. Because I definitely thought when someone reached out to me through my website or talked to me or called me and said they want to work with me, I thought that meant next week we'll have a meeting, 2 weeks we'll be setting up the plan. And what that really means is probably the next couple months, I'm going to set up a meeting with you that will then take place a month from then. And maybe, so everything takes longer, and getting registered takes longer than you think, and getting set up, at TD Ameritrade and getting everything takes longer than you think it will.
I would advise people not to stress over things and just take things one step at a time, because everything kind of ends up working out for the good. And I feel like early on in my career, I was so stressed that I would not make it at Merrill Lynch, and that, what if I get fired? It's going to be the end of the world. And now my mindset is so different. I just feel so free. I feel like, why was I worried about that? I had a Series 7. I could have went and worked anywhere. And then once I got the CFP, I could literally go work anywhere. And I think to myself, why did I stress so much about the little things? Because I think the focus should be less on, am I going to have a job? Am I going to make money? And more on, how can I get better?
Be the person that you were created to be. Be yourself, and don't be the person that you think others want you to be, whether that's your boss or your spouse or your parents or your clients. Be you, and don't obsess over, trying to be this person who's not the real you. People want authenticity, and you're going to do a better job setting expectations and relationships in general if you are who you are and not trying to live up to this false self of who you think people want you to be.
Be yourself. For many years in our business, there was a particular mold or a particular look that a financial advisor needed to have. You needed to serve a certain group of people. And, as I have gotten older, one of the things that, we spend a lot of time talking to our clients about, we call it their signature life, but really I've heard you say it, I think, as, just helping people live their best life. And you can't do that if you're not being authentic. And I think a lot of times, again, going back 20 years ago, there have been plenty of times in businesses where you're expected to be a certain way or dress or act a certain way. And we certainly, I think that it's important to be authentic and to always be, developing the kind of business that you're going to enjoy being in, and that you're going to be and working with people that you like. And I think that fortunately over the years I've been able to do that. But I do think as young advisors, oftentimes, we're pointing in a particular direction because that's where the industry says that things should be. And so I'd encourage my younger self to be authentic at all times and to develop the kind of business with the kind of people that I'd want to work with for 20 or 30 or 40 years.
Exit bed in the morning only after you have identified 3 self-honoring choices you made yesterday, with the catch being they cannot be a repeat of any previous day. It makes you think, and it really makes you get granular, because you can't say I did something great for my family and that was good. You have to really kind of dig in a little bit. It is hard. It's not easy to do, but man, can it be rewarding.
Perseverance is just what comes to mind, and not to fret the small stuff, and to just keep that long-term vision. Being self-employed, as I have been now for 3.5, it'll be 4 years this summer, is emotionally volatile. Some days you're on the top of the world and everything is just wonderful and perfect, and you just think it's going to all break open tomorrow, and bring out the bottle of bubbly and let's celebrate, right? And the next day it's like you don't even know why you're still doing this, and maybe you should just stop and do something else altogether. It really takes a toll on you over time. And so I don't know. I think that what I would want to reassure and tell myself in the early years is just we learn by doing, and so just keep doing. Just keep getting out there, keep doing it, stay at it, and trust that you're going to get better, and the business is going to get better, and you're going to get the hang of this.
Don't be afraid to take the leap of faith. All the best decisions I've made over the course of my career have really come as a result of diving into that unknown. And at times I've been a little bit unconfident if what I was doing was the right decision, especially because I've gone in so many different directions. But looking back, I can safely say that that was the right choice. So that would be my advice.
One thing that I've learned more recently that I didn't know whenever I first got started, or I wasn't really thinking about when I first got started, is let your clients guide your practice. And what I mean by that is when I was like kind of first coming up, I was so concerned about what the competition was doing. It was like, oh, well, these guys down the street are, advertising this way, or their fee schedule is this and my fee schedule is this. Like, that doesn't really matter. We're not in a competitive business, even though we think we are sometimes. We're in a relationship business, and clients do business with us because they like us and they find value in what we provide to them. And I think that's the most important thing that advisors need to tell themselves. So, when you're setting your fee schedule, set your fee schedule based on the value that you're bringing to your clients. Find that happy number that, your clients are okay with paying, that fairly compensates you and brings value to them. When you're doing your marketing efforts and things like that, like, base your marketing off the target client that you're looking to work with, not the one your guy down the street's working, the competitor down the street's looking to work with. Like, don't worry about what your competitors are doing. Just focus on your business and your clients, and it will grow and it will succeed.
Probably I'm being influenced here because of some recent events in my family with health issues. Probably that things aren't as serious as they seem. I've done a good job over the years of not taking myself too seriously. I take my work very seriously, but I don't take myself that seriously. And I probably overdid it a little bit with some work elements here and there. Life's too short, and I hope that my peers will say nice things about me when I'm gone. But if that's the main topic of conversation at my funeral is how good a financial planner I was for my family, I'll be very, very disappointed.
Have confidence in yourself and don't underestimate the importance of a good team around you. I definitely would not have made it to the 3-year point without my mastermind group, without, like I said, the support group that I've built. And especially as a career changer, it was very, very important for me to be able to draw on the knowledge of others, to be able to provide great service to my clients. And that was the thing that was most important to me. And I had a lot of days where I felt like, maybe I bit off more than I can chew. I want to help these people, but I don't know the best way to do these ESPPs. And, maybe I shouldn't have taken them as clients because they've got ESPPs, or, all those different things that kind of crept in and made me feel like I couldn't. My advice to you is to know that you can have confidence in yourself and really draw on that, like you said, that integrity and your belief in why you got into this in the first place. Every time you're feeling low, feeling down, and then draw on your support net group, your support network. So that's not one piece of advice. It's two. It's have confidence and have a great support team.
I think I don't know that I would have believed it, but it would have been helpful if I had believed or understood at the beginning the potential for having my own business. That I think I maybe would have approached some things differently, made some different decisions if I had known from the outset that this was going to be possible, that it was possible to run a profitable firm. And I think I wish I had more community with like-minded advisors early on. Like the study group that I have and just the network, there's so many amazing XYPN advisors in the New York area. It's so encouraging and so helpful. And I wish that we had known each other earlier on. I think that would have been really, really helpful.
Believing in yourself. And for a long time, I struggled with that, right? Like, it's like, okay, so, I've all the areas of financial planning that I talk to clients about are areas that I've actually worked in. Like, when it comes to mortgages, I've worked in mortgage. Like, I did that. When it comes to life insurance, I've sold life insurance. When it comes to investments, I had done that. And believing in myself, the self-belief was a big big deal. So believe that you're able to, believe in yourself, and then it's okay to make mistakes. Like you're not going to be perfect. So I would say, self-belief, because preparation being prepared is the biggest thing. But I had done all the preparation. So then taking that step out and saying, okay, now that I've prepared for this, let's go do it, and having confidence enough to do it.
Understand that you can never be duplicated, and you are you, and that is your power. And if for any reason you start to doubt yourself, if you start to doubt the road that you have taken, always go back to your why. You are put here on this earth for a reason. And if you do not fulfill your destiny, wow, the world is going to miss out. The world is going to miss out.
Hey everyone, this is Alan Moore again. To close out the episode, having been now 200 episodes in, it's been such an honor to be able to talk with so many entrepreneurs and business owners and financial advisors that are doing so many wonderful things in their business. And I've learned so much from the advice that they've given. And hopefully, by pulling all of the pieces of advice together, you'll be able to see, some of the commonalities and the things that people are saying. If there's one takeaway, and when I think of one piece of advice that I've learned and that I hope you take away from this episode, it's you don't need to should on yourself. Stop shoulding on yourself. Ultimately, there's no right way to do this thing called entrepreneurship or to do life in general. There's just your way, and there's the way that's going to support your version of your great life and what you hope to accomplish and what drives you. You can't listen to anyone else's story and copy them. You have to be your authentic self and do it your way in the way that's going to work for you and your family. So my final piece of advice is that don't shut on yourself. Do it your way. Do what's going to support your great life. And ultimately, once you know what that is, go after it and don't stop.
You're not alone, and you're not crazy. It's scary starting, building, and growing your own financial planning firm. And that's why we put together a free private community just for you, the Cutting Edge Financial Planner. Go to xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP or text XYPN Radio to 33344 and join a network of thousands ready to change the lives of Gen X and Gen Y clients.